Alright, today I'm doing a review of the B&T SMG 9 suppressor. Here's what to expect out of the box. Nothing fancy, just a suppressor and its protective wrapping. Got two caps that it comes with, a flow-through and a sealed end cap. This is the flow-through. This particular suppressor, you can run it in 4 different configurations. So we have short and long configurations, and either flow through or non-flow through end caps. And the quick attached device on this one is for the tri-lug. Pretty simple getting it on and off. Literally just click it on, push the button. Sorry, it usually takes me 2 hands. Definitely super quick to attach. To detach, not so much, but who's detaching a suppressor in a hurry? So there you go. We're going to do some testing on it. We're going to see if any of the configurations change the point of impact. We're also going to check different grain weights to see how different grain weights perform in this suppressor. And this is also full auto rated, so we might be testing that out too. Just stick around to the end to see. Alright, for the first test, we're going to try unsuppressed to see if we're on target without the suppressor. Alright, let's go take a look. Alright, so this is my first group at 25 yards. Not bad, hitting a little high. I'm going to circle that off and then we're going to start with it suppressed. The next test is going to be suppressed in the short configuration with the flow-through end cap. Alright, let's go check it out. Alright, this is the point of impact for the shortest configuration suppressed with flow-through. Alright, up next we are going to test the short suppressor with the sealed cap. Alright, let's go check it out. Alright, these are the results of the short no-flow end cap. Grouping's pretty good, but it is off quite a bit. We'll continue testing and see if it goes even further off. Alright, so now we're going to test the long version of it with the flow-through cap. Let's go check it out. Alright, so this is the results of the long flow through. Grouping is terrible. Let's see if it gets any worse. Alright, so here's the last test of the 115s. This is going to be the long with the sealed cap. Go take a look. So this is the results of the long version of it, hitting a couple inches high. I think I'm going to reshoot that one there. I don't know if I jerked it or what, but all my groupings are decent except for that. So I'm going to try the long with the flow through cap again and see what kind of grouping we get. Alright, this is going to be test number 2 of the long version with the flow through. Hopefully I can get a better grouping. Alright, let's go check it out. Alright, so here's the second test of the long flow through. Still very inaccurate, kind of same pattern that one did, but not as bad. So yeah, long flow through, probably not a good setup on this suppressor. Alright, for this next test, we're going to be using Fiocchi 158 grain full metal jackets, 850 feet per second. Should be nice and quiet. Let's see if it changes the point of impact at all. First, we're going to test it unsuppressed and see where it's landing to get a good comparison. Alright, 158 grain unsuppressed. Take a look. Alright, for the next test, we're doing the short can with the flow through. Alright, let's go check it out. Alright, so the short flow through, a little bit high and slightly to the left. Still looking pretty decent. Alright, next test is going to be the short with the sealed end cap, 158 grains. Alright, so the short sealed end cap still landing a little bit high and a couple of them a little bit to the left. Alright, next we have the long setup with the flow through cap. We had some grouping issues with the 115s. Let's see how the 158s do. Definitely is a lot quieter with the 158s and both silencers together. Let's go see where it landed. Alright, the long flow through can again, even with 158s, is quite a large grouping, and it's still in the same line that the 115s were, so I'm going to say it's probably a safe bet to say that that's just not a good setup for that gun and that suppressor, no matter what grain weight you're shooting. Let's see how it does sealed. Alright, final accuracy test is a long setup with the sealed end cap with 158 grains. Alright, let's go see where everything landed. Alright, so the long no flow still high and to the left a little bit, so actually not too bad. That's everything for the 158s. Alright, now we're going to test the velocity. So the first test is going to be the 158s not suppressed. They claim that it's 850. Let's see where it's at. .905, 942.
That is an 8.8 inch barrel versus like a 5 or 4.
Yep. Alright, now we're going to test the 158s with the long no flow through setup. See what the velocities are like. Alright, looks like they're about the same. And next we're going to test 115s. Alright, next we're going to test the 115s and see what the difference is. It's 1291, 1276. Let's pop that suppressor on. Alright, so there's the conclusion of the velocity test. Alright, so next we're going to check, B&T says it's full auto capable. We're going to test it out in full auto. Special thanks to Cedar Ridge Range for letting me borrow their MP5 that's full auto. And let's see how hot it gets. First we're going to go with the 115 grains, a full mag, and then a full mag of the 158s. So hopefully we can hear the sound difference with the steel ringing. see how hot she got. And closest to the bottom, we're at, I saw 243 the highest. So it doesn't get too hot, but if you keep going, it's going to get hotter and hotter. Yeah, it's not touchable right now. So next we're going to compare to the APC9 and the TP9, both B&T cans. This one has the RBS DT compact can, and this is the can for the MP9. This one is definitely louder, so yeah, definitely louder. Yeah, this one's definitely a little bit louder too, so.
Those two sounded the same pretty much.
Yeah, they did.
The other one, the brand new one's definitely quieter, the S whatever.
The SMG 9. Alright, that concludes my test for the SMG 9 suppressor on an MP5. Next time I'll probably get a decibel meter to have it a little bit more scientific, but I did what I could with the tools available to me. If you like the content, go ahead and give it a like. If not, I really don't care. Y'all have a good one.